Hey guys, what is going on, my people? We have a powerful presentation for you guys here today. For anybody who wants to hear how these two humans ended up losing 131 pounds, and we didn't do it in a quick fix overnight, hurt ourselves, do any of that madness. And we did this despite having kids, working full time, owning a business, and all of those other things that we were kind of like juggling. Guys, and so that is what this topic is going to be about. Because here's the thing. We get a lot of people who ask us questions. I mean, anytime you lose a significant amount of weight, they ask like, what is it you're doing? How were you able to do this without, like going insane, without like burning yourself out, without like literally getting yourself off track or getting into arguments and fights and all this kind of stuff. And we talk about it. We used to talk about it a lot, actually, a lot more than we do now. Now that I personally made more of a transition into leadership, I know that leadership was a big part of the reason why I lost weight, but people want to know the details. They want to know the nitty gritty. They want to know how we stayed consistent, how we had and discovered the right mindset and the right tactics to be able to stay on track for long enough to be able to do that. And that's why we have put this presentation for you guys here together. So I have in the past given this presentation to thousands of people. Teresa was just making fun of the slides and saying, how come you've had these slides for like 13 years? Because I guess it's kind of like the fine wine. I don't know. It ages and it has like beauty when I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to wine. And I think I drank once in my whole entire life. But this is like the bread and butter. Just get right into the simple things that you need to do to stay consistent, all right? It doesn't need to be fancy, and you guys will see that in a minute. But after every time that I give this presentation, people have their aha moment. They have their moment where they're like, wow, like that was a game changer for me. And I've gotten messages back months, sometimes even years, saying what you taught was a game changer for me. Now, what I have to say is like what you're going to catch is probably going to be different than what somebody else catches, because it's the combined of all of these things that we're going to be talking about today that's going to get you to see maybe one or maybe even two small tweaks that you can make that will get you to lean into this and be able to have these exponential results. Not like an overnight success, not like a quick fix, but something where now after we have lost this weight, it's been about 10 years since both of us have lost this weight. We've been able to stay consistent when it comes to our routines, when it comes to our eating, because we've just become the type of people who normally do this. I know in the moment it feels like it sucks. It feels like, what are you talking about? How am I ever going to be able to be that person? And I got to tell you, coming from me, the person who thought I was big boned, I was negative all the time. I live next door to the McDonald's, and I joke around with Teresa a lot about this because like literally I would go next door and I would get a Big Mac, large fry, a 9-piece chicken McNugget, and a large Coke. I would do that for like lunch and dinner on almost a daily basis. And I got to that point where I was just so unhealthy, and I was saying that I didn't have the time, I didn't have the money. And what we're going to find out today is that really wasn't the truth. But your brain will constantly try and trick you into not taking the actions you need to take, all right? So that's a little bit of a sneak peek, and we haven't really even started. So Teresa is here joining me. And she has told me that she's going to slap me if she wants to like chime in. So if that's the case, I don't know how you're going to do that because you're downstairs.
Don't know how. Yeah, how are we going to do that? That's
I don't know.
amazing.
You're magical. You'll figure out a way.
I'll
all
just
right?
give you the stare. You know the stare.
Okay, cool. All right. So before we go, we have Shelly, we have Joe here, we have Trisha here, and I'm sure we have a whole bunch of other people. I want to hear where you are. I almost said calling in from. I feel like this is like Love Line from like K-Rock from like back in the day. Let us know where you are here from, okay? And as we go, we're going to be accumulating some questions as we go. So while we're going through this process, if you have something pop up, comment in the comment section here so that we can at the end go over any Q&A, and we will do that. I'll remove the slides from the screen and take any questions that you have, maybe about something you're struggling with right now, maybe about something that you see in the presentation that you're wondering, how does it apply to you? We'll be able to do that for you guys at the end. All right, here we go. You ready to go, Teresa? All right, so what is today's focus? Guys, we're going to talk about the mindset and the tactics behind physical and mental wellness. I hate this word wellness because for some reason it makes me want to run the opposite direction. And like, I'm like the wellness guy, right? I don't know what it is, but we're going to talk about both the mindset and the tactics. Now, if you've been a part of any of my programs in the past, This is where this stemmed from. It's the mindset and the tactics combined that allow you to have massive success. This isn't just in health and fitness. This is also when it comes to your family connection. Also when it comes to, excelling in your career. And also when it comes to leadership, right? It's the mindset. You got to have the mindset of a leader, and the tactics, know all the skills, all the systems, have everything in place so that you can take those actions. But you've also got to have the mindset. You got to have that confidence. You got to be like, I'm leading from the front. I'm like an unwavering leader. When you have both of those, kind of like joins in the middle where the beautiful intersection is. But today we're going to be talking about how that relates to your health and fitness, why mindset matters, how to take ownership of your mindset, and then how to stay consistent to the end. All right. Now, I have the screen on here. This is the one that Teresa was making fun of me from. This is our, I like to say before and after. And people tend to think that like it's the outside that changed the most. And I'm sure Teresa would agree that it was the inside that changed the most. The differences between, I know at least for me, the pictures on the top and the pictures on the bottom where I am now, it was a complete 180. Yes, the outside changed, but the inside had to change first. That's why we always focus on mindset first. It's just like when you plant a seed. You plant a seed, you give it water, sunlight, soil, all that great stuff, right? And then it takes time to develop. But first, what happens? It gets roots underground, right? It starts to develop itself. It starts to get a hold of the ground, right? Be able to grip itself. Can you imagine what it would look like if there was like an oak tree that had no roots? I would tip over. It wouldn't even be able to get to that point, right? So we need to have these roots and these foundations. And what I see here is like two drastically people who change on the inside, which you can't necessarily capture until you stay consistent with it. And then before you know it, the outside definitely catches up.
Yeah, the greatest habit that you can form once you're going through this process is because it is hard to keep going when you don't see kind of like this external change happening. But the greatest habit you can have is to just keep going. It's the consistency part, even when you don't see that external change. Because even though the internal change is happening, sometimes it's not very apparent to you. So, when someone sees you, hasn't seen you for a long time and says, "Oh, wow, you look great. What have you been doing?" Then it kind of hits you because, even if there are external changes, sometimes we can't see them. But the greatest thing is to be able to keep going, even though you don't see those external changes at the moment.
I love that. And I'm sure that a lot of you guys can resonate with this because I know I have a lot of business coaches who are on here. How many of you guys are in your before picture in your business and you're like, I want to get to the after picture right now, right? I can tell you it's the same thing when it comes to health and fitness, when it comes to your business, when it comes to leading, right? So I didn't just wake up one day and become a, police sergeant from LAPD. It took a lot of work on the front end. It took a lot of developing myself, putting myself into uncomfortable positions, taking that consistent action. And it's just like anything else. The results never come as quickly as we want. But then all of a sudden, something happens, right? And then you look up and somebody asks you one of those questions and you're like, I don't even know what happened. I mean, I literally retired 2 weeks ago from my police career, and it had been something that I've been working towards for like 10 years. I'm like, I'm going to retire early. I'm going to retire early. And I'm like, I don't know if it's moving the needle enough. And now I just blink and I'm like, what in the heck happened? I get to stay home full time with this lady right here and like get bossed around by my kids like 24/7. This is like awesome. Right? And it's because we were willing to do the things that we're going to be talking about here today, and anybody can do them. It doesn't matter your past, how many times you've tried, your current weight, your current possibilities, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. None of those things matter in the long term. All right. So how do we do this? We're going to teach you right now if my slide continues, because we are going to hear something different. So here's the thing. I want to let you know that I want you to be prepared to hear something different, because let's face it, with the world that we have nowadays, we need something different, right? We were doing like one of the old school P90X workouts today. And it was like, I don't know if it was like shot like on just the worst camera in the world, but like some of the things that they had you do back then, like even nowadays, there's different ways to do it because we've been evolving, because we've like figured out different ways of doing things, of getting results quicker, right? Of getting in, getting done, and then, finishing for the day. And it's this process that we call evolution that is, we've got to change, do something different, think a little bit differently if we truly want to be different, right? Especially when everything is just like right now in society, everything is like, hey, how can I make this easy? How can I make this as easy as possible? Now I want to make it simple, but easy is not the solution. All right. So we are going to do something different today. Now, first off, I talked about mindset today, and I'm going to kind of describe what I mean by it. So mindset is a person's way of thinking, a frame of mind, or an attitude. It's the thoughts, the stories that are going through here on a consistent basis. And for all my push coaches who are here, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's the collection of all of these different stories. That is your mindset. And what's crazy is your mindset flows through everything. It'll flow through your family connection. It'll flow through your health and fitness. It'll flow through your job. It'll flow through your business. Whatever these collections of thoughts and ideas are up here that are like fueling you, whether it's positive or negative, whether it's like towards lack, scarcity, or abundance, like whatever it is that you're focusing most of your attention on, you will get more of that in your life. Like they say, what you focus on grows, right? And so when we think about mindset, that's why I always say the mindset is the first piece you want to create. You want to not create. You want to like lean into mindset first before all the other things, which for some reason, like whenever we try something new, we just get into the tactics. Which workout did you do? Which way did you eat? How did you grow your business? How did you do this? How did you start a certification school? How did you become a sergeant? And it's like they forget that this part matters first. And then all those tactics are important. I'm not saying they're not, but they're only 50% of the equation, right? Now, why does this even matter? Because if you jump right into the tactics, you're missing a key ingredient. Just like as if only you have this mindset and you have no tactics and nothing for you to do, right? It's also, you're missing a key ingredient, right? You need both of them. Now, the tactics is described as an action or strategy carefully planned to achieve specific end. Now, for those of you guys who know I'm a police sergeant, I like to really think about this in terms of an example would be a search warrant. Now, if you've been in the civilian world, you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're still going to be able to resonate with this, okay? Because there's two parts to every search warrant, okay? There is, when we go to the location, who's going in first? Where are the officers going to be situated around? Like, who are we looking for? How are we going to do it in the safest way possible? Those are the tactics that we talk about beforehand. But there's also the mindset that we have to get. We got to get in a frame of mind before we go there. We've got to realize that, like, hey, this is a dangerous situation. We need to watch each other's backs. We need to make sure that we're there to protect each other. We also need to make sure that if there's somebody inside, we need to protect them too, especially if there's like kids, uninvolved people. Like, we've got to do the best that we can. So make sure that your head is on a swivel and you're ready to do whatever you need to do to make sure that people and everybody goes home safely. And when you have that mindset and you have the mixture of the tactics, that's when you have a really great tactical plan that people actually follow through with. It's the same when it comes to your health and fitness, your business. It's the mindset and the tactics. So we're going to dive into both of those today, all right? The first piece being the mindset. So why mindset matters? Number one is, we talked about this earlier, everything flows through your mindset. If you have a negative mindset at work, you get frustrated, you get angry, and you go home, that's why it gets brought home. Because this thing it goes with you everywhere. This brain just travels with you everywhere. And so when you take one and you move on to another, it's only natural for that to happen. Now, when we talk about mindset, I like to think about this as either growth or fixed mindset. Here's what I mean. As a fixed mindset, that means it's definitive. It's the way that it is. We can't change anything. There's nothing new that could happen, and there's no way or any possibility that anything can ever be different. A growth mindset is like, I don't have the answers right now, but I know there's an answer out there, and I'm willing to search and find it, and I'm okay right now if I don't have the answers because I'm still looking. It's the difference between saying, I just don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have the resources. I'm not a good leader, right? Versus, I'm becoming a better leader. I'm finding the time to do this. And it seems like just a little bit, it is huge. Because if you are open to things on the outside, to finding the solutions, to like connecting with people who might have better answers, you're going to find them. Maybe today, maybe next week, maybe next year, but it's much better than saying, this is the way it is, it's concrete, and it's stamped shut. Now, your brain wants to do this because it doesn't want you to have to use any more energy to think about things. It's like, nope, this is just a matter of fact. This is the way that I am, and it can never change. This is like when people say that they're an angry person. No, they sometimes get angry, but they're not an angry person. An angry person means that they're angry all the time, and it means they can never change that. So when you lean into this and you realize there's a difference between a growth and a fixed mindset, you've got to ask yourself, If I'm approaching health and fitness, do I have a fixed mindset? I have to do this, this, or that's the only way? Or am I like, you know what, there's multiple different ways. I can find a way that's really going to work for me. Next one is positive versus negative. Now, if you've been a part of our life coach certification, you know that life is 50-50. You're going to have 50% positive experiences and 50% negative experiences. A lot of times people think that you just have to throw more positive stuff on things. Next week, guys, I'm going to have a extremely powerful training for you guys to talk about this, the difference between positive and negative, and really the negative self-talk that we have in our head, how to take full control over it. I'm going to talk to you about that next week. But thinking that you just have to have positivity all the time and be Pollyanna all the time is not the answer. Like, you can't, in that moment when you feel like crap, go, you know what, I'm just going to turn this around and feel great. That's not how life works. Life is 50-50. So thinking that you're going to plant some positivity on top of like some negativity that's growing like weeds is never going to be the answer. So mindset is not just a strictly, am I positive all the time or am I negative all the time? It's whether you're willing to have that growth versus fixed mindset and really lean into it going, you know what? I can really focus on the mindset that's going to get me to show up. And on the days that I don't feel like it, which by the way was this morning, I'll share that in a minute, you still take those actions you need to take because you know who needs you to show up on your A game. This morning, Teresa and I we woke up, we went downstairs to exercise. I don't know what it is, but like my energy's been off. It's probably my Crohn's disease. I have this issue where sometimes I can't sleep. Sometimes my energy's like all over the place. And so today I woke up very, very minimal energy. And so I was literally just doing like as much of the moves as I possibly could. And it was kind of funny at some point because we were like looking over at each other going like, what are we doing? Because I could tell that Teresa, I almost called her Alyssa, which is my daughter, that Teresa had like low energy like me. I don't normally call her Teresa, by the way. It's kind of weird to call her that. Anyway, she didn't have that energy too. And we were there. We're like, this is just what it looks like today. And it's not the fact that it was positive or negative or anything like that. I was like, hey, this is just what today looks like. But also this is what success looks like. Not on the days that are perfect, but on the days that I'd show up anyway. Like, that's the greatest opportunity we have as a leader. I talk about that all the time, right? It's like that in that moment when it's the hardest time, if we lean in instead, that actually is proof that we are the leader that we need to be, because it's not during the easy times that we become a leader. And
yeah,
the last
sometimes.
Go ahead.
Oh,
sorry.
Sometimes sometimes it's actually the opposite for us. So when he's not feeling great, I'm feeling good, and I can, kind of hype him up and everything, and vice versa. So today it just happened to be that we were both just super tired, and we just made the best of it.
You actually were cracking me up for a little bit. You definitely did turn it around because you had a little bit more energy than I did today. So I appreciate that. And it goes to this last piece. This last piece is mindset is contagious. It very much is contagious, guys. If you hang around with people who are positive, who are growth oriented, who are like getting after it, who are taking action, who have similar values than yours, it is so easy to stay on track. I'm going to come out and say this, I probably would have not finished the workout if she hadn't been there doing, her goofy stuff that she was doing this morning. It like made me be like, you know what, this is actually fun. And we leaned into it and we actually got it done, right? But the opposite is true too. Back when I was 100 pounds overweight, back when I was not, giving as much as I'm giving right now to my family, back when I was just giving it all to my career, I was hanging out with other people who were doing that same thing. Because it's very easy as humans to want to adapt to the people that you are around. And so when you think about this, you can really like take full charge of like, am I around the people that I'm adapting to, that I want to adapt to, or am I around the people who I don't want to adapt to? Not because there's something wrong with them, guys. As humans, we are all equal, all right? I'm just saying that when you want a specific goal, you can set yourself up for more success by making sure that you're around other people who have the kind of mindset that you want to have. They're not going to have it all the time. That's just the way that it works, right? You're going to have great days, you're going to have bad days, but are you all heading in that same direction, all right? Now, what about, this is my question time, all right? I want you guys to pop in to the chat right now and comment on this, whether you're watching this as a recording or you're watching this on the replay. I always like to start with why, right? Like Simon Sinek always says, when we think about things related to our health goals, how do we actually get our mindset on point? This is how. You ask yourself freaking powerful questions. That's what I'm all about, right? So what about your health goal is important or meaningful to you? What about it is important to your family? And what about it is important to the world? Meaning, if you lean into this, if you get uncomfortable and you hit that health goal that you have, like what kind of impact is that going to make? I mean, what are you going to be able to do that's not possible right now? What kind of role model are you going to be for your kids so that they don't have to struggle through this? And then what kind of impact will you make on the world? I kind of talked about this a little earlier, but like we lost a combined 131 pounds, right? We wanted to put that together because we were like, okay, exactly how many pounds we did, because it gets a lot of people's attention, right? Guess what happens when you lose 131 pounds? Hey, Mark, Teresa, what'd you guys do? Like, how did you do this? I saw you. You guys were like, Teresa was still working in corporate. You were working as a police officer. You had this business. You had this stuff going. How did you do that, right? It literally gave us the ability of breathing hope and belief into somebody else because we were willing to get done and to take those actions. Now, the cool thing is like, you don't have to just think about just what it's going to do for the world or just what it's going to do for your family or just what it's going to do for you. The power is in the collective. Like everybody has a different like thought, kind of thought pattern where there's something that is like really near and dear to you that you will do anything for. Sometimes it's for yourself. Sometimes it's for your kids. For me, it's my kids. Sometimes it's for the world. Sometimes it's for a mission. Sometimes it's for like the impact that you're going to make. Sometimes because you want to give hope. Whatever that is, that's yours. Like lean into that and say, this is what I'm going to use to really fuel me so that I can get this right mindset. So that is how I keep track of my mindset, because what my answer is, I make it into an affirmation so I can say it and think it and like live it every single day. Taking ownership of your mindset. I'm going to speed this up a little bit, Teresa, because I'm talking too much, all right? So how to take ownership of your mindset. Number one, reading, podcasts, masterminds, who you hang out with. These are all things that speed up the process. When I say speed up the process, I mean, you're going to want to get things as quickly as possible. You're going to want to get results as quickly as possible. So I want you to set yourself up for success. Almost said something else. So that's reading. What books are you going to be reading? Are you going to read my book, Mastering Your Life Through Self-Coaching? Are you like struggling with getting yourself to show up and become a leader of leaders? Then that's the book. Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Atomic Habits by, almost said Leigh Babin, by James Clear. Like leaning into the books that are really going to help you because you're going to be learning things that are in alignment with what you want to create, right? Make sure you're listening to podcasts. Joining mastermind teams. The greatest thing that I've ever done is invest in myself in a mastermind team. I did it for my health. I did it for my business. I did it for my parenting. I did it for my husbanding. I did it for like YouTube. Like you pick it. I've literally been like, hey, how do I get results faster? Oh, I join a mastermind team and I have a group of people that I'm reaching out to and somebody that I'm reaching up to who is further along than me that I can literally lean into. And then of course, who you hang out with. The people you hang out with will either be taking you closer to your goal or further away. And trust me, you don't want to be walking uphill. It's much easier to walk downhill, even though it might hurt your shins a little bit after a while. It's much easier to walk downhill than it takes to walk all uphill and try to figure that all out. Can you do it? You can 100% do it. I'm just telling you the fastest way, okay? Now, the next one is 10 minutes a day. It doesn't take a lot of time, guys. I know our brains are like, but it takes too long. It's going to take me so long. Guys, I've read 10 minutes every single day for the last, I don't know how many years. It literally got me to where I am today, where I own a business, multiple six figures, where I don't have to go into LEPD work ever again. And most of my other classmates still have like 15 more years to go. That's the power of 10 minutes of reading every single day. If it's in alignment with what you want, not just like random like romance novels, which might be cool, like that might be your downtime. But when I'm talking about personal development, when I'm talking about personal growth, I mean picking 10 minutes from a book that's actually heading you in that direction, all right? We talked about what you focus on grows. So when you're like reading those books, when you're taking those 10 minutes, when you're focused on the mastermind and it's all in this one area, you're going to grow exponentially. And that's what I'm doing right now with YouTube. And how I've been able to hit 1,000 subscribers was because I went all in, not only with the mastermind and the podcast and the books, but I'm like all laser focused in one direction. All right. And then of course, remove the stuff that drags you down. The easiest way that I can say this is if you're scrolling on social media, okay? And let's say somebody's post comes up, and you see their picture. You haven't even read what it is that they said, but you experience a certain feeling in your body from their picture. Maybe it's something that happened in the past. Maybe it's something you saw them post in the past. Maybe they have six-pack abs and you despise them because they have like, I don't know, amazing genetics, and it makes you feel something in your body. It's time to like unfollow them. It's time to remove that. It's time to go, know what? That doesn't fuel me. Not that there's anything wrong with what they're doing, but I need to find the things that really do fuel me. So find ways to remove the stuff that drags you down. And you'll know that because you'll experience a feeling in your body, whether it's feeling of anger, of frustration, of it's not possible for me, unworthiness, all of those kind of things, all right? Now, consistency. So John Maxwell says your life won't change until you change something you do every single day. That's why in every program I have, whether it's a one-on-one, whether it's my Ideal Leader Blueprint, there is a tracker that's built in. I want people to see the small actions that they can take every day that will help them build massive, not only consistency, but massive results. Now, it's not just about taking action every day. It's about taking the right actions every single day. That's why it's so important to have a tracker, but also, like, if you don't know what those right actions are, find somebody who can tell you what those right actions are, somebody who has what you like are trying to get after or is in the direction or maybe a few steps ahead of you to find out what those activities are, right? Because you can figure it out on your own, but it takes far, far longer. And then it's not the big things that matter most. It's not about like, for us, it's not about, we didn't do insanity 7 times every single day to be able to lose weight. No, we did our workouts, 1 workout a day, 1 shake a day, 1 walk a day, and that consistently, boom, 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 boom. And then before we know it, it's just normal for us to do that. And then we woke up and we look at the pictures now and go, I honestly feel like I'm still that, that old version in terms of in my body, but I know internally everything has changed. And then this is something from my mentor, Josh Coach. He says, your outward success is a reflection of your inner growth. This is so critical. A lot of times when we're trying to be consistent and trying to get things on the outside to change, we forget that the inside has to change first. And that process takes a little bit longer of a time. But once you've changed on the inside, you will become the type of person who, once you have those results, you'll keep them. Anybody who's been on an up and down weight loss journey, which is what I was before, I did what we're talking about here today. I was going up and down because I was trying to change the outside, and the inside I was like, you just stay the same. Just stay the same. Nope, just stay the same. Let's just work harder. Let's just eat less. Let's just run further. And I was trying to do that to escape where I currently was. I didn't realize that it was the inside that I had to focus on and I had to grow with, which had a lot to do with mindset. Part 1, take action. Okay, here's a question that I want you to brainstorm, all right? And then I'm going to take a pause so that Teresa can chime in a little bit, all right? Think of a time when you felt like you were on point with your health. Your mindset was great. You had energy. You had motivation. You were showing up consistently. You were like super proud of yourself. I want you to think about a time in your life when you did that. It could be when you're in high school. It could be, I don't know, last month. It could be yesterday. It could be whatever. I want you to think about a time when you really were on point. I want you to go back and I want you to find the wisdom in what you were doing. So what were you reading or listening to at that time? Who were you hanging out with? Who weren't you hanging out with? What were you doing that made you feel like, hey, I was on point? I was talking to Cassie recently, and she was talking about like when she felt most on point is when she was doing this program called 80-Day Obsession. And so for me, I'm like, let's go back and do that. Like, even if you can't do the whole entire workout, because there was just something exciting about that thing. Maybe it was dancing. Maybe it was going out and, I don't know, playing baseball. Like, what was it about it that you can pull and go, how can I put myself back into that situation? Because if it worked before, guys, it's probably going to work again, right? So when you can describe this in as much detail as possible, it really helps you to go back, mine that wisdom, and bring it into today. Teresa, anything you got to say about that?
Yeah, it's really about your environment, right? So when you're learning new habits, and this is part of Atomic Habits, so he talks about this and like putting yourself in an environment where you can succeed. And basically that's what you're doing because you're thinking back to a time and what your environment was that was helping you grow. So, it's kind of like that plant analogy, right? So you have to have that type of setting that is going to help you, create those habits and be consistent with those habits.
I love that. I love it. I love it. And I'm looking at some of the chat right here. So Trisha said before she got sick, she was on day 40 of the 75 hard. Trisha, that is, first off, congratulations for making it to day 40.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's time to jump back in. If that's how you felt when you were in there, like, I don't want you to get afraid of that number 75. I don't talk about this, but there's a guy named Kyle who is a part of my leadership mastermind, and he made it today, I think it was 68. He made it to day 68, all right? And then something happened where he couldn't do his workouts, and technically he failed. And we had this conversation because I was like, you made it to this day, all right? And was it the fact that it was this number that made you feel that way? Or was it the things that you did, the actions you took that got you to where you are today, that got you to feel how you are right now, feel in control, feel excited and happy? I'm like, you didn't fail anything. When you think about this, like you may have like missed this number over here, but it's the fact that you were doing this, that you were staying consistent, that you were taking yourself through this, building this mental toughness that allowed you to get there. Trisha, he started over and he hit day 75. Can I just tell you, like, not only was he super proud of himself, but he even got twice as many results. Because our brain will try and tell us, well, but you got to day 40, right? And it'll try and trick us in to not starting over because it's like, but you got to go through all of these 75 days. It's like, yeah. And also I'm going to feel incredible from right now onto this, because you don't lose those 40 days. It's not like you wake up one day and you lost all those 40 days results, right? It's something that you actually take with you into that next venture. So I'm super proud of you. And she's already going right back in. I love that. I love that so much. Shelly says 80-day obsession as well. A lot of people have different programs that they connect with. Think about, can I implement this back into my life? How could I implement this back into my life? That's a better question. And then just jump in, right? I know for me, I just re-implemented P90X back into my life. And I remember at 200 and something pounds, way more than I am now, I pushed play on that workout. And that's all I did was push the play button. And I just worked out and I waited to see what was going to happen. And I did whatever I could to keep taking action. And it was not pretty. It was a lot of walking in place, but it got me to where I am today. And so fast forward, 10 years, 11 or 12 years now, since we did that the first time, I'm like, let's do that again. And it feels like I just started out again. It feels like, oh my gosh, this is like really difficult compared to the workouts that I was doing recently, which were pretty high intensity, but not 60 minutes or 90 something minute yoga, right? And by jumping in and doing that, I'm like reinvigorated with my health and fitness journey, because this is the one that started it all. This is the one that got me super excited to stay consistent. So why wouldn't I want to go back to that and experience that again?
Yeah, I want to share really quickly kind of like what my experience was,
Yeah.
just because this isn't something that I was expecting. So what I was expecting was, oh, I'm gonna lose some weight after I do these 90 days. I mean, I haven't worked out in like forever, so working out is gonna help me lose some weight. I don't remember that I lost weight. I think I lost inches. So I was a little upset when I saw that like my weight hadn't changed. However, the biggest thing and what kept me going to eventually lose the weight after many, many months later was that I was consistent. And that was something that I was missing because I would start things and stop things. I would do a week, 2 weeks, and then I would stop and I would quit. So the biggest thing for me was being able to show up no matter how awful it was for me, because 90 minutes of yoga was painful, but I did it anyway. And it was just showing up every single day for those 90 days. And back then, maybe because my mindset wasn't where it is now, but now in retrospect, when I think about it, it's like I killed it because I showed up every single day when I hadn't shown up for myself for more than a couple of weeks. So that was my greatest win. And I think that that's one of the things that you alluded to, Mark, was when, people get to that point where they're like, pretty far along and then they don't hit that mark. That doesn't matter at all. It's the fact that you actually put in the work and did it consistently, and celebrating the wins along the way. I think that's really important to do.
Yep. I love that. I love that. And every time you call me Mark, I feel like I'm in trouble for some reason. All right, guys. Let's jump into we're going to jump into the tactics. All right. So how might you create that for yourself again? We already asked that. Part number 2 is the tactics. This is the how that we always want to rush to. Please don't skip over that first part and just jump into this one. All right. You've got to really implement that first part, because you could already have the right how right now. Think about that a second. You could already be connected to the right how. It's just you didn't have that first part, the tactics, or not the tactics, the mindset that you need to be consistent with it for long enough to actually see results. So many times people think they have to do a complete 180. We didn't do that. I'm going to share with you what we actually did, but I'm not sharing this with you because this is the one right, best, only way. I'm just sharing it with you because this is what worked for both of us. It worked for many other people that we help, but also it's the universal principles that you'll find here that are things that you can like lean on. And if you need to make an adjustment, you can, but I can't tell you how many times people already have that program that they enjoy, that they love, that fits in their lifestyle, and they think they have to change it, and you don't. So we're going to talk about taking action. Fitness, food, and accountability. Ready? So let's talk about taking action. So this great quote, it says, knowledge is power, but knowledge without action is useless. If you heard me on my podcast channel, I always say you don't get better by consuming. What do I say, Teresa? You get better by acting.
Nope.
Exactly.
Whoops, I failed.
So you don't get better by consuming, you get better by acting. Julie, where are you at? Julie's on here. I know she's always my, she always reminds me of that, because we don't get better by consuming. We get better through our action. We get better by taking that action, taking that information, and then putting it into play, right? Now, I want to ask you, what would your life look like if you acted on 50% of the things you knew? Think about that. What would your life look like if you took action on the 50% of things that you knew? Guys, like Google is, and now AI, my son did a project on AI and all the things that it can do, and it freaking scares me to death. But guys, we have as much knowledge as you want. You can like literally download it all from the worldwide interwebs. But what happens when we have this knowledge and we don't take action? Well, it's useless, right? And so if we started to think about like, what if you only took action on 50% of the things you knew? You would have probably like a much, much different life, because it's that 50%, right? And how we do that is, guess what? Focus on that first part of the webinar, this first part of the training. Focus on your mindset. Your mindset will get you to show up and start to take massive action. Now, fitness, okay? So once you're in the process of taking action, a lot of times the fitness will work itself out. Some people think there's like one right best only workout that they could do. Maybe you heard one of the workouts that I said, so you're like, oh my God, I got to research it and I got to do absolutely this one or I'm not going to lose the weight. And that is not the truth. Yes, you can get some ideas and suggestions from outside, but the first part, taking action, will help you find the things that will make the biggest difference for you. If you take action for a month, 2 months, you don't see any changes, let's change it up. If you take action and you start to see incremental changes, you're on the right path. Keep going until you plateau. And once you plateau, guess what? You try something different, all right? So with Fitness 101, action will help you find your thing. If you're taking action and you're reflecting on it, I would reflect on it like at least maybe once a month. I wouldn't reflect on it daily. Probably wouldn't reflect on it weekly. I'd probably reflect on it monthly to see the changes that you've made. And what Teresa brought up was super important. There's multiple changes when you talk about fitness, all right? There's like the circumference of your muscles. There's like your inches. There's also like how you feel. There's also like how your clothes fit. There's also this thing called weight. But everybody puts it on that one. Like that is not the holy grail. Just for example, I've been doing P90X now. What are we in, week 3? We're at the end of week 3. The first week I lost 4 pounds. The next 2 weeks I lost 0. But I'm like, my six-pack is starting to show again. Like my arms are getting bigger and my legs are getting bigger. And I'm like, okay. I know Teresa's like hugging me a little bit more now. So I'm like, okay, I'm heading in the right direction. But it's like, it's these changes, the totality of all these changes, not just one, but when you're checking in, you can make a decision on, hey, is this heading in the right direction or not? Now, the second piece is exercise and movement. People think fitness is just about one or the other. It's both. So what I mean is like fitness is like your 30, 45 minute, 60 minute workout, right? Sometimes I do a lot of like high intensity stuff because I want to bring cardio into weightlifting, something whether it's kind of like HIIT related or weight training without a lot of like breaks in between. And so that's for me, that's my version of exercise. But then you have the 23 other hours that you're moving, that you're like getting up to use the bathroom, that, I mean, after this, I'm going to ask Teresa like, hey, do you want to go on a walk with me? Because I need to get out and get some movement in. I make sure that I hit 10,000 steps every single day. That's my number, but that's the movement. I had this guy on my podcast once, and he was he was brilliant. He was like, he's like, I want you to think about this. Like when you have water that's free flowing through a stream, there's like life. There's like, it's just beautiful. It's crystal clear. It's like amazing, right? The fish are there. But when you put something in the way, what happens? Or when you don't have that free flowing, it gets like really like there's like death and algae and there's no more fish and like the creatures start to die. And it's because when it comes to movement, that's such a critical part of things, right? He even talked about this like movement in your home by opening your windows and allowing the breeze to come in, because that is what like life is all about. It's about, having this like flow of movement. And that's really what it is when it comes to the movement of our person, of our body. All right. So if you're right now, you're focusing just on exercise, ask yourself, how can I get in more movement? If maybe right now you're like, man, like I can't really focus on exercise right now, then ask yourself, how can you increase your movement? It's a 2-part series here. What I like to describe this is like logic, all right? What you're eating and the exercises that you're doing have gotten you to right here in your life. You're right here. So if you exercise a little bit more, or you eat a little bit less, or you change something else, you're going to either go up or go down. You don't have to change it all. If you choose just one and you start to implement that, the rest of the stuff, you'll start getting incremental results, all right? Now, there's, of course, resistance versus cardio. There's like training your muscles versus training the most important muscle, your heart, and really thinking about how can you incorporate both. Cardio is, once again, so is resistance. It's like a personalized thing. If walking outside gets your heart rate up, right, then just walk outside. If running does it, cool. If like you can do it with weight training, I always try to do what the last point is, which is the law of adaptation, which is change it up often, because I want my body to have to adapt to it, all right? But it's not just one or the other. It's the mixture of both. And the last piece is the law of adaptation. This is something that I learned through my National Academy of Sports Medicine training. It's called the law of adaptation, meaning that as you start to work out, as you start to exercise, as you start to eat certain foods, your body will adapt to what you are currently doing. Like the purpose of the body is to keep you alive. It's like there so that it's like, okay, we want to make sure that we can do this thing, whether it's lifting weights or whatever, using the least amount of calories possible, because we want to conserve those calories. And what happens is when you throw something new at it, it will like literally start burning more calories. But if you keep doing the same things over and over and over again, usually it's a couple month period of time, your body will plateau. And basically what it does is it's found a way to make it so that your muscles don't tear as much, that it's not as hard cardiovascular wise, that it's easier on you. And then your body stops adapting and changing to like become that next version of you. And so instead you got to think about like, how can I do something different? That's why incorporating like yoga or some different kinds of exercise, maybe like incorporating your volume or repetition or the number of sets or the like how you put the exercises back to back. Like if you do a back and then a bicep workout or a back and then a bicep exercise, what if you did a back and a tricep exercise instead of, and then just move the bicep exercises back to chest day? Like I'm getting a little bit in the weeds here, but it's all about like adapting and changing, like even the structure of how you have it, how many sets you have it, and how often you do it. All of those things are things that your body will adapt to. So when you understand the law of adaptation, you know that anytime you start to plateau, it's time to change it up. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with the workout program. It's just time to change it up. Nutrition 101. All right. Go through this one real quick. You can enjoy what you eat. Guys, don't have a fixed mindset saying that I hate every vegetable. I mean, that's what my daughter Alyssa says. She's like, I hate everything. I'm like, why are you eating that ketchup then? She's like, oh, well, actually, is tomato a fruit? I don't know. But anyway, she's like, I hate everything related to fruit, or I hate everything related to this. And it basically traps you into not being able to enjoy your food. Like you can enjoy what you eat. It's whether or not you're willing to try new things, to try different flavorings, to try different seasonings, to try many different things to find a way to eat certain foods. There's certain foods that I will never eat raw. 2 reasons. Number 1, Crohn's disease doesn't help me for that. Number 2 is because it tastes terrible. All right. An example of this is broccoli crusted pizza. If you love that, man, you're so amazing. It tastes like cardboard and I'm not eating it. Okay, so I'm willing to look for different ways of eating pizza in a way that will make it in a much more healthier fashion for me, but also not removing it completely from my diet because I don't want to eat broccoli, like almost flavored, broccoli crusted pizza, all right? Yes, you're going to find things that you're not going to like. Please, like, don't eat those. But find different ways to cook it, find different ways to eat it, find different sauces, find different ways to get it so that you actually enjoy it. Because if you hate it, if you hate what you eat, you're not going to be consistent when it comes to eating that, okay? Next one is reduce versus remove. So there's certain things, Teresa knows this as me. This is my cold brew. All right. For her, it's her red velvet cupcakes. And so when it comes to this, these are things that we refuse to remove. I'm just gonna reduce it. So I reduce my cold brew. She reduces her cupcakes. However,
They're
her
mini
husband
cupcakes
tends to
now.
go. Her husband tends to go and buy it and bring it home and all those great things. But when it comes to that, you can think about like, okay, I really love this thing. I'm just going to reduce it. Because remember what we said, like whatever you're eating and the exercise you're doing have gotten you right here. If you would just reduce it a little bit, you're still going to be heading in the right direction. Okay. Next one is substitute. So, for example, if you're like normally eating like some kind of pizza or some kind of burger or some kind of pasta or something like that, think about what can you change? Like, could you change the type of meat? Could you change the type of cheese? Could you change the type of noodle? Could you change? And just these slight tweaks, guys. My kids don't even know that they're eating vegetables sometimes. They're like, I don't know what happened, but this is really good, Dad. I'm like, cool. I'm just not going to tell you what it is because if I tell you what it is, you'll pretend like it's the most disgusting thing on the planet, right? And I do this because
Chickpea
I can
pasta.
substitute, and sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't work. And we're like, okay, I'm never doing this again, right? But it's ways of finding that you can like literally trick your palate into realizing that you're actually eating healthier foods. Next one is take shortcuts with supplements if they're healthy. I'm a big proponent of supplements. I've used a lot of them. Just make sure that they're healthy based off of whole foods. So not fake, not like, things that have like red number 40 and dye number 60, all those kind of things. Make sure they're based off of whole foods because supplements can help bridge the gap, but they shouldn't be the primary source of your nutrition unless you're being like seen by an actual, either a nutritionist or a doctor for some reason. Outside of that, definitely taking shortcuts is really a cool way. I use Rana as a resource. You guys can't use Rana as a resource. She was my old LAPD nutritionist that we had. Okay, so those are the nutrition aspects. Accountability one-on-one. Do you want to take this one, or do you want me to keep going?
Sure, I can't see the slide, and I
Oh,
think
really?
my microphone is not working properly either.
I don't know.
I'm kind of a mess over here.
It looks amazing. It looks amazing. Okay, I'll dive in. Okay, so
Okay.
accountability one-on-one. Energy, motivation, and action is contagious. All right. So making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people who are there to kind of like hold you accountable is critical, right? Because we will show up for more for others than we do for ourselves. Kind of sucks when you realize that, but a lot of times, especially me as a first responder, especially a lot of people that I hang around with because they're coaches, they're out there wanting to make an impact, we will often show up for other people like our family or the people out there in the world or the people that we're going to save or going to help. We'll often show up more for them than we do for ourselves. So that's why accountability can be used really to get you to show up for yourself. Because when you're around others who are going through very similar situations than you, have the same values as you, have the same goals, and they're showing up, it's literally evidence and proof that it's possible for you too. And so when you're hanging around these people, we call this like the 3 levels of reach. It gets you to continue taking consistent action. And then a coach or team pushes you to a higher standard you're more than capable of. When we have the behind the scenes view, when we don't tell people that we're going to, hey, tomorrow I'm going to work out, you want to work out together, or you want to call each other or keep each other accountable. If we don't do that, it's very easy for us to continue to hit the snooze button and then just go about our day, right? And just skip that workout. But when we get other people involved, it's much harder for us to actually do that. Now, when we talk about this, I talk about Josh taught me the 3 levels of reach. I want to go into this real quick because this is incredibly important when it comes to accountability. So as a leader, we have to reach 3 different directions. We don't have to reach. The best use of our time is to reach in 3 different directions. I'll explain what I mean. So first, reaching down, helping people, lifting them up in terms of like maybe people who are a few steps behind you, maybe people who need your help, maybe people who we're out there to serve, right? Because as a leader, that's what we do. We help, we serve, we do the best that we can to help lift people up to our level. I mean, that's literally how we got to where we are, right? Because somebody reached down and lifted us up. The second level of reach is reaching out. Reaching out is to people who are around the same on the same lines as you, meaning they're around the same, whether it's, they're focusing on the same health and fitness journey, they're around the same time frame as you, they're like losing weight just like you are, they're going through things just like you, they're the people that you like, that are like the positive people who are like your peer group, the people that like literally help lift you up, but they actually do it on an area that's off to the side, all right? These are the people who, like if you own a business, they're also other business owners who are about the same like level of business that you you. If you're a police officer, it could be like other police officers from different areas and different jurisdictions that you can reach out to, that really when you share things with them, you're like on the same level in terms of like, you know what, I'm going through that too. And it just feels like this great place to kind of like have, so that you're not always constantly having to reach down. Because if you're reaching down, talking to the people about the things that you're struggling with right now, that is the wrong place to be reaching, all right? It's to have conversations out, and then the last way is reaching up. This is like to a mentor, to somebody who's a few steps ahead of you, who knows what your potential is, who believes in you. Because sometimes maybe to get to that next level, sometimes we don't necessarily believe in ourselves. And so we get to ride on their coattails to literally be lifted up above. And when you have these 3 levels of reach, that's where you're going to experience the fastest amount of growth: reaching down, reaching out, and then reaching up. And how we do that is we make sure we put ourselves in an environment that's going to happen, whether it's a mastermind, whether it's a coaching program, whatever that is, it's those 3 levels of reach. And we got to make sure that we have all 3 of them. So part 2, taking action. This is what I want you to ask yourselves. What is one small thing that you will focus on this week? It could be around your fitness, your food. It could be around accountability. And how will you track it to remind yourself? So I want you to get laser focused on, okay, what's the one thing that I'm going to tackle from this presentation? Guys, I gave you 72 million things. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I just wanted to throw out and get you to go, that's the piece that I'm missing. That's the piece that I need to focus on. That's the piece that I used to have that I don't have anymore. And I just want you to take that one thing and go, this is what I'm focusing on this week. And also, this is how I'm going to track it. How are you going to remind yourself? Are you going to put it in your phone? Are you going to, if you're part of any of our programs, are you going to post it inside of our app? Like, what are you going to do to make sure that you're going to be consistent when it comes to doing this activity? All right. So this lesson and workshop, let's do a real quick recap. All right. So focus on mindset first. Then set yourself up in an environment of growth, motivation, and consistency. And then take action. The tactics will work themselves out. Here it is. You don't get better by consuming. You get better by acting. Guys, it's all about taking this one little thing, one thing that's going to make an impact in your life, and then implementing it. And that is how we literally lost 131 pounds. It started off for us just a workout change. And then after the workout change, it was like, what if we added in a supplement? And then after the supplement, it was like, what if we did it a little bit different with our nutrition? And then we started to do those minor tweaks. And they were like, what if we drank like less soda and more water? And all of these things did not have to happen at once. They were one piece right after the other. And because we were in an environment where we were literally being held to a higher standard, and honestly, because we started to coach other people around this, it even gave us more of a push to be consistent. And that's truly how not only we lost the weight, but how it's possible for you too. Promise, no matter where you are right now, it is 1000% possible if you follow these steps. Now, on the bottom of this slide, before I go into some questions, by the way, if anybody has any questions about anything we talked about, go ahead and comment them right now on the side, and we will come back and answer these live. And if you're on the recording, I will also come back and answer these questions for you, maybe even do a video for you. But on the bottom of the slide, you're going to see something called the Influence Blueprint, okay? The Influence Blueprint. If you go to mindsetwithmark.com/leader, you can get this 4-part, super short video series that's going to teach you how to literally influence the people in your life when it comes to your business, when it comes to your career, when it comes to your family. And what we talked about all today is influencing yourself. Guys, all of these things that I talked about today are all about leadership. It's about influencing you to take the consistent action that you need to like really be able to create what you want to create in the world. This is the part when it comes to influencing yourself. So if you're looking for a way, for a strategy, for a blueprint to see not only how you can influence yourself, but influence the world, download this free influence blueprint. It's at mindsetwithmark.com/leader. All right. Let me come over here. Let me stop the share. Boom. And we're back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through to see if anybody has any questions. If anybody does have questions right now, hit them up so that we can answer any personalized stuff for you guys right now. Let me see. Trisha and Joe and Julie. Joe made a very, very solid point here. She says, exercise literally only counts for 5 to 10% of calorie expenditure. Movement throughout the day is about 25 to 30%. When I first learned that, I was like, are you serious? Like I'm putting all the time, my time and energy and all of my eggs in one basket into this one workout that's like 5% of my total overall calories? And the answer is yes, because your body takes a lot of calories just to move, just to continue to breathe, continue to have your heart beat. And when you realize that, you can lean into that other 30%. Thank you for that, Joe. Let's see. Joe said she has cauliflower rice instead of white rice. 100%. So, guys, when you lean into vegetables, especially, there's ways that I sneak them in to even my diet because I know like there's a lot of power in just cauliflower because it's a cruciferable vegetable and it's really good for a specific like issue that I have in my body when it comes to digesting food. And so what I do is I literally take frozen cauliflower rice from Costco. They have these like big bags and I put them in the freezer and I'll put like one banana in my shake and then I'll put some of those, that cauliflower rice. It tastes like zero, but it gives me the like consistency of like a Frosty at Wendy's. I don't know. I don't know if anybody you can connect back to that, but like that's kind of like what it tastes. It tastes literally like an ice cream shake. And when I do that, I get the nutrients that I need and I sneak it in so that I don't have to like try to pound down like 3 pounds of cauliflower every single day. So figuring out like how you can sneak that in. I also sneak in a little bit of greens into it because they are so powerful. Trisha says for her workout, she keeps changing it up, keep it guessing. Yes. So not only keep your body guessing, but there's also going to be like that that mental focus when you change it up. I remember the company that I usually do workouts with, they changed from this, one workout a week, and then every single week you do that same exact one over and over again, and your brain just gets bored with it, into every single day is a different workout. Even if it's the same exact workout, it's still an entirely different recording of the workout because it keeps your brain stimulated, and it's something that I really needed, and it really helped me to stay more consistent that way. Let's see. Anne asked, why is good sleep so important? You're burning calories all night. So Teresa, do you want to chat about that? Like, why is sleep so important, or do you want me to hit this up?
I'll try to hit it up.
Yeah.
There might be a little noise in the background, but yeah, sleep is incredibly important for your body. I mean, when you are sleeping, and sorry, the dishwasher is going off right now.
Is that my fault?
No, that's my fault.
Oh.
When you are sleeping, that is when your body is recovering. And I mean, even your mind, like it's solving problems, it's doing all of these things. So when you're doing some type of exercise routine, sleep is something that even if you don't follow the exercise part to a T, getting enough sleep. And sleep can, it's different for everybody. Like some people can do it with 6 hours of sleep a night. Some people need 8.5 hours. It really depends on the individual. So, focusing on that and seeing how much sleep you need, but really it's about the quality of sleep. So even if you can't get the amount, the quality of your sleep, getting into deep sleep and all of that is really important because it will make a big difference.
100%. 100%. One of the things that I did is when I was struggling with the whole sleep thing, having to, work my career and figure out how to get an hour and a half in for yoga and spend time with the family and all that kind of stuff. Sleep was one of the things that I first started to kind of push to the wayside. And so what I did is I went out and I got a book. It's called Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson. I'll link it after we get done here. I'll link it into our show notes so you can get a copy of it. But basically, I dove into a lot of the science behind sleep. And what I didn't realize is a lot of what Teresa said. So number one is our brain and our toxins in our body flush out at nighttime when we have enough sleep. Have you ever felt that where like you don't sleep throughout the night? Or like for me, I had those shifts where I wasn't able to sleep. I would go to work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and you just start to feel like a little bit of like acid reflux coming up, and you just like feel really awkward in your body. It's because your body hasn't detoxified. And when it detoxifies, it gives it's the ability for when your growth hormone is at its highest rate, so your muscles can recover so that you can like get back into it the next day. Like Teresa says, like you actually will you'll be like solving problems. Your brain will actually be continuing to move and continuing to take action at nighttime, which also does burn those calories like Anne said. But when you realize that it also affects your hormones, Like your hormones are a big deal, right? Your hormones can play whether or not you're losing weight or not. No matter how much exercise you do, if your hormones are out of whack, it's not going to help at all. And really taking full charge of that when it comes to your sleep, it's going to actually make all of those other things so much easier for you. I remember doing what Teresa said, where I actually got more sleep. And I noticed that when I did, I actually lost weight quicker because I was getting more sleep. It was weird because I was like, I'm not going to lose more weight if I got more sleep. And then I did. I started to sleep better and I started to have more energy. And it's crazy. Think about this, guys. All right. So when you have those days like we had today where like I was exhausted, I was tired, and I was just working out, I looked down and my calorie burn was like 400 for the workout. By the way, that's low for me. But normally I would look down and it'd be like 650 or 700 for the same workout. And I burned 200, 250 less calories because I didn't get much sleep last night, because I couldn't like really have that energy. Take 200 and now multiply it by like, let's say 300 days. All right. For like not even 365, 300 days. Think about what that number is. All right. That is what? 60,000. Every pound is 5,000. All right. So if you figure that out, that's like 12 extra pounds lost from getting sleep. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? Because you were able to get more sleep and you were able to get more stuff done and you were more focused and you were more motivated, right? Because I know whenever I'm hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, right, that halt, like I always give in to bad things. I always like don't take the actions that I want to take because it's so much easier when you don't have that willpower because of those situations where you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, right? So it is so important. Yes, Joe, it's the Model Health Guy. He's got a freaking awesome podcast for sure. And I think he's also on YouTube as well. All right, what else? What else we got here? Okay, Joe actually said having something like an Oura ring that tracks your sleep is a real eye opener. Great thing to bring up. So guys, I also do have an Oura ring. Once again, I'll leave you the link in the show notes once we get done here. But what this does is it tracks the amount of sleep that you get, the amount of movement. It tracks your heart rate. It tracks your skin temperature. Back when I got COVID like 6 months ago, it actually told me the day before I actually started to get sick. It's like, uh-oh, something's going on here, buddy. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, I feel great today. And then the next day I was like, holy smokes, it actually was able to identify it a day early. It's crazy. It tracks all of your things, your heart rate variability. There's so many different things. I also have an Apple Watch. This is for my movement. This is for my steps. It does not do a good job of tracking my sleep. So when I found out that sleep was a big problem of mine, especially going to my doctor who talks about autoimmunes and how a lot of people who have autoimmunes have crappy sleep, I got this and I can 100% tell you when I have a good day, it's because I was able to get enough sleep. And I can adjust it, even like the hours that I go to sleep, the time I go to bed, and the time that I wake up shows me when is like my best zone of like not only sleep, but when I'm awake. And so I can make those micro adjustments. It is kind of a little expensive. I think maybe I have like a $50 off coupon. If I do, I'll post it up in the comments below, but it's like $450 for it. You buy it, they send you like a set of a bunch of different rings, like plastic ones to test to see what size you are. You don't want to get it super snug, but you also don't want to get it where it like flies off all the time. And you find the one that fits right. And then you tell them, and then they actually send you the actual ring, and then you pair it up and it's awesome. Just do yourself a favor. If you're ever like taking clothes and putting them into the bin at the Salvation Army, make sure that your hand isn't like over here and then the ring slips off and goes into the bin, because that's how I lost my first one. But it's okay because I got a second one and it's beautiful. So, all right, great questions. Let's see. Back to the 75 hard, going to track it and finish up last week. Trisha, super proud of you. Super proud of you. And Joe says, be your own science experiment. That's what this is all about, guys. And let's end it with that, okay? So next week, we're going to really dive into like the science behind what's going on in here in your brain and how self-talk is like literally the thing that is holding so many of us back when it comes to not just what we talked about today. You can very easily convince yourself that none of the stuff that we talked about today relates to you, or it doesn't even have any meaning to you, or it's not going to be helpful for you. But you can also look on the other end and see just how powerful any one of these subjects are. But with this negative self-talk, especially when you're in your own head, you're not in front of Mark and Teresa here, you're not in front of our coaching team, you're just there by yourself at home. It's so easy to let the negative self-talk take over. I'm going to show you next week the secret to like really taking full ownership of what's going on in here, okay? because that is the only way that you're going to be able to have this massive success in your health, when it comes to your business, when it comes to your career, when it comes to your family, is being able to control what's going on in here. All right. Also, there is one more video for a lot of people who get to this point and you're like, okay, like I'll be on next week, but I really want to help like develop a plan to get myself to show up consistently so that I can have this kind of level of success. I will leave you a workshop that Teresa and I did. It's called the Success Equation. I will leave that for you guys so you can check it out. But I always want to end with this, and that is like, no matter where you are, no matter like what your size is, no matter what your shape, color, whatever it is, it is 100% possible for you to see the success, not only that you want, that you honestly deserve. I mean, you guys are out here, you're leading, you're getting uncomfortable, you're literally staying to the end of an hour and 5-minute thing. And I'm super freaking proud of you because you're willing to get out there, get uncomfortable, because like we said in the beginning, it's not the easy times when everything's just hunky-dory that proves that we're leaders. It's the hard times. It's the times that you lean in. It's the times when you feel uncomfortable and it doesn't come second nature and you do it anyway. And I'm so freaking proud to call you guys all important, incredible, powerful, modern leaders. It's what the world needs now more than ever. So I'll see you guys next weekend. Teresa, you want to say hi? You want to say bye?
Bye, everybody.
All right. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.